China is ordering its airlines not to take any further deliveries of Boeing jets. That's according to a Bloomberg report. The move becoming the latest chapter in President Trump's trade war against China. For more, we're going to bring in now George Ferguson. He is senior aerospace defense and airlines industry analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. George, it's always great to have you on the show. So Bloomberg reporting here, George, you saw it. China has ordered its airlines not to take any further deliveries of Boeing jets. What do you make of that, George? And for investors listening right now, what could that mean in terms of financial impact for Boeing? How important is China to Boeing?
Yeah, so not very important anymore. I think this doesn't get in the way of Boeing's recovery. A lot of progress we expect they'll make on it this year. So really since 2018, Chinese airlines haven't ordered from Boeing. Right now there's a little bit over 240 orders on the books from Chinese airlines and Boeing's backlog. That's of a backlog of 6,000 aircraft, so a very small proportion. Prior to the pandemic, China, a much bigger buyer. Prior to the first Trump administration, China, a much big buyer, would usually take 150 to 180 Boeing airplanes a year. Since that first sort of Trump trade action and the pandemic, we've really seen China cut their take from Boeing way down. Even for the total market, they only took in 150 narrow-body aircraft last year. They were largely from Airbus because of the slower GDP growth in the country. So I think there's a lot more. There's a big headline here, but I think the effect isn't that great on Boeing.
Hey, George, it's Simeon Hyman. Historically, I can't think of a sector or a subsector that's more politically intertwined than aerospace. I know we have obviously elevated tariff challenges right now, but is it to some extent business as usual? If anybody's ready for this, you'd think it would be Boeing. They've lived this many times before.
Yeah. So as we think about the tariffs and the effects on Boeing and even Airbus, I mean, right now in the industry, backlogs for the most important airplanes, the A320 from Airbus, 737 from Boeing, 9 to 10 years long. So I think if you're an airline, you might slow down some of your deliveries, ask them to park it while we figure out tariffs. Feels to us like it takes, I don't know, something less than maybe a year to get through some of the negotiations around tariffs. And I think if the Trump administration goes out and looks for countries to equalize trade, Boeing could be a benefactor from that as countries buy more airplanes from the U.S. So I think, again, given the backlog, the international nature of the industry, we're not seeing a big effect right now. And again, I think a tariff game that maybe should last less than a year or something like that.
George, I also want to get your take. Ryanair's boss made some comments to the FT that got some attention. Michael O'Leary, basically, I don't know if you saw this one, George. He kind of warned, listen, we could delay deliveries of Boeing aircraft if they become more expensive. He said, if tariffs are imposed on those aircraft, there's every likelihood we may delay the delivery. I'm just curious what you made of those comments, George.
Yeah, so I think delay, again, is the key word there, right? And we heard Delta do that last week on their earnings call. Delta talked about taking very few deliveries in the back half of this year. Delta, a big buyer of airplanes from Airbus, and they're looking at that tariff cost, right? And so, when this will be the hottest zone, I think, of the tariff battle will be U.S. and Europe. And honestly, we put together fleets in Europe and in the U.S. and thought about the exposure here. And when you look at it, Airbus probably has more exposure in the U.S. than Boeing has in Europe. Boeing's key customer is Ryanair. You pointed it out. Airbus has Delta, Airbus has Frontier, Airbus has Spirit, Airbus has JetBlue. So my guess, again, is that something gets done on the trade front between the U.S. and Europe. But again, you're going to see CEOs, they don't want to pay 20% more for an airplane. I think that busts budgets in a business right now where we see fares kind of sliding and profitability looking like it was sliding even before these problems. So they're going to delay, but they're going to be very reticent to switch. It's expensive to switch, and there's a long backlog.
How deep a recession would it take to derail that recovery at Boeing?
Yeah, I think pretty deep, right? I think that if we get, sort of maybe a typically long recession, neither Boeing or Airbus are going to feel it much, but I think you're going to have to get into pretty rough global economic times for the Boeing turnaround that we kind of expect this year to get derailed.
George, final question. So Boeing results on deck, scheduled for next week, April 23rd. You expect to hear what, George?
Well, look, I think all the CEOs are kind of pulling back, talking about much of anything, given tariffs and the tumult I think we've seen recently. We're going to be very focused on where they are in stabilizing production. It looks to us like in the first quarter they were doing at least sort of mid-20s level new production through the factory, not inventory. They were delivering. We're looking for them to rise. That's of 737s. We're looking for them to rise to like 38 by year end. We think that's all part of this recovery. We're going to be very focused to hear on how that factory is stabilizing and how they're starting to boost production.
George, always great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Good. Thank you.